For the longest time, one of the biggest mysteries in biology was the protein folding problem. I mean, how do the tiny little machines that literally run our bodies get their shape? Honestly, solving it seemed just about impossible. And then an AI called AlphaFold came along and, well, it cracked the code. So, how in the world did it do it? We're going to break down its revolutionary process step by step.
You know, it all starts with something surprisingly simple, a string. Think of a protein like a long necklace, where every single bead is an amino acid. Our DNA is the blueprint that tells the cell exactly how to assemble this necklace, which bead goes in what order. But here's the catch. That simple, one-dimensional string, on its own, is basically useless.
And this is where the real magic and the mystery begins. That simple string doesn't just stay a string. Nope. In a fraction of a second, it folds itself into an incredibly complex and very specific 3D shape. And that shape is everything. It's what determines what the protein does, whether that's fighting off a virus or helping you digest your lunch. For 50 years, figuring out how to predict that final shape from just the sequence was one of the grand challenges of biology.
Yeah, for half a century, scientists were stumped. I mean, the number of ways a single protein could possibly fold is astronomically huge. We're talking more than the number of atoms in the known universe. So how did an AI finally solve it? Well, it didn't do it by brute forcing every possibility. Instead, it learned to think like a detective, digging for hidden clues.
Okay, so the first secret to AlphaFold's success isn't some crazy, unknowable AI magic. It's data. A lot of data. Specifically, it's about looking back through millions and millions of years of evolution to find patterns that have been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
The main thing AlphaFold looks at is something called a multiple sequence alignment, or MSA for short. Just imagine you take the same protein from a human, a mouse, a fish, even from yeast, and you line up all their amino acid sequences. Right away, you start to see these incredible patterns. Some amino acids never change. They are absolutely essential. And even cooler, some mutate together. If one changes over here, another one way down the line changes too, almost like they're coordinating to keep the protein shape stable. These are the powerful evolutionary clues that AlphaFold is hunting for.
So here's the process. AlphaFold gets fed a protein sequence. It immediately scours these massive genetic databases, looking for all of its evolutionary cousins. Then it stacks them all up, creating that MSA. The patterns that pop out of this alignment, the spots that are conserved and the pairs that change in sync, they become the absolute foundation for the entire prediction.
So we've got all these evolutionary clues, but how does the AI actually make sense of them? Well, that's the job of its central reasoning engine, a really powerful neural network that they call the evoformer.
The evoformer is brilliant because it basically thinks along two parallel tracks at the same time. On one track, it's analyzing all those genetic clues from the MSA, the evolutionary history. But on the other track, it's simultaneously building a sort of 3D map of the protein, trying to figure out which amino acids are probably going to be physically close to each other in the end. It's like having a historian and a physicist working together on the same puzzle.
And this, right here, is the absolute genius of the whole system. These two lines of thinking aren't separate. They're constantly talking to each other. Information is just flowing back and forth between them, with each stream of thought helping to refine the other's ideas.
Let me break that down. A clue from the evolutionary data like, hey, these two amino acids always mutate together, that suggests they're probably touching in the 3D structure. So the model updates its 3D map. But then, this new and improved map might suddenly highlight a really subtle evolutionary pattern that was missed before. And get this back-and-forth communication cycle repeats 48 times. With every single pass, the final picture gets sharper, clearer, and more accurate.
All right, after those 48 rounds inside the evoformer, AlphaFold has this incredibly rich but still abstract blueprint of the protein structure. The next job is to turn that blueprint into an actual physical 3D model with atoms in space, and that is handled by what's called the structure module.
And the way this part starts is, well, it's just wild. The model doesn't start with a stretched-out chain of amino acids. Instead, it places every single part of the protein at the exact same spot in space, the origin point. It's like the whole protein begins its existence compressed into a single, infinitely dense point, like a tiny black hole.
So from this one single point, the structure module starts to build. Over 8 cycles, a special mechanism acts like a super sophisticated GPS, carefully moving and rotating each amino acid into its proper place, all based on the evoformer's detailed blueprint.
It's just like watching an atomic sculptor meticulously pull the final beautiful structure out of that initial chaotic point.
But AlphaFold does one last thing that is absolutely crucial for science. It doesn't just give you a structure and say, there you go, good luck. It also tells you exactly how confident it is in its own prediction, right down to the position of every single atom.
It gives you a confidence score for every part of the protein, called the PLDDT score. It's on a scale from 0 to 100. So if you see a score over 90, for instance, that means AlphaFold is extremely confident that it has placed those atoms with almost perfect experimental level accuracy.
This is so incredibly useful for scientists. They can look at the color-coded 3D model and immediately know which parts of the structure they can trust. The dark blue regions? Rock solid. The yellow and orange parts? Well, that means you should be cautious. Or it might mean that part of the protein is naturally flexible or disordered, which is actually a super valuable biological insight all on its own.
Really, this built-in trust score is what elevates AlphaFold from just a cool piece of tech to a revolutionary scientific tool. It lets researchers know when they can confidently use a prediction to design a new drug or understand a disease, and when they need to be a bit more skeptical. In a way, it's the AI showing its work and being honest about what it doesn't know for sure.
And that kind of brings us to the big picture. For 50 years, we knew the one-dimensional sequences of proteins, but we were basically flying blind when it came to their actual 3D shapes. AlphaFold has given us the glasses to finally see that three-dimensional world in stunning detail. So the question isn't really how proteins fold anymore. The question is, with this incredible new vision, what profound secrets of life are we going to discover next?